Jaylen stands in the principal's office, the folder pressed tightly in his hands, knuckles pale against the worn manila edges. The air is heavy with the slow tap of computer keys and the faint hum of fluorescent lights. Dr. Stenner doesn't look up, eyes fixed on his screen, his posture rigid, a wall built from routine and indifference. Jaylen clears his throat, voice steady but soft. I drafted a proposal for a STEM club. The principal's answer is clipped, almost automatic. Clubs require faculty oversight. We're at capacity. Jaylen's fingers tighten around the folder, his shoulders squared. I've included volunteer mentors, local engineers. The principal finally glances over, his gaze flickering briefly from Jaylen's face to his hoodie, then back to the monitor. Focus on your grades, McCall. Colleges don't care about clubs. The words land with a dull thud, the dismissal clear in every syllable. Jaylen stands a little taller, refusing to shrink. You'll want to remember this idea. The principal turns away, chair creaking, fingers resuming their dance on the keyboard. Jaylen places the folder on the desk, the plastic sleeve catching a harsh beam of sunlight. He lingers for a heartbeat, searching for any sign of interest, but finds only the back of the principal's head. Outside the office, a secretary sorts through a stack of mail, her eyes darting toward the closed door, sensing the tension inside but saying nothing. Jaylen steps into the hallway, the sound of his footsteps swallowed by the thick carpet. The folder remains on the desk, untouched, a silent challenge left behind. Jaylen's jaw is set, his breath measured. He walks away, not defeated, but determined. The moment is thick with things unsaid, the power imbalance unbroken, but Jaylen's resolve is clear. He will not let this be the end of his idea. The principal's indifference is just another obstacle, another locked door to be opened by persistence, not permission. Before the story continues, please let us know from where you are watching this video. Write your city or country in the comments below. Don't forget to subscribe and hit like if you believe in stories that challenge injustice. Your engagement gives power to voices that need to be heard. Jaylen steps out of the principal's office, shoulders squared but eyes searching the walls as he walks. The corridor is lined with framed photographs of past honor roll students, sports teams, and club presidents. Not a single face looks like his. He slows his pace, taking in the rows of smiling students, their achievements celebrated in glossy color. A group of students passes by, their laughter bouncing down the hallway. One boy glances at Jaylen, then at the photos, then quickly looks away, pretending not to notice. Jaylen's grip tightens on his backpack strap. Two teachers stand near the water fountain, discussing next week's assembly. Their conversation pauses as Jaylen nears, their eyes flickering toward him before returning to their discussion, voices dropping to a murmur. He keeps moving, the weight of every overlooked student before him pressing down with each step. A trophy case gleams in the sunlight, filled with medals and plaques. Jaylen's reflection appears in the glass, superimposed over names he's never heard spoken in class. A custodian wipes down the display, nodding to Jaylen with a tired, knowing look, then returns to his work without a word. A flyer for the Student Innovators Club is taped to the wall, all the faces on it familiar from the photos behind the glass. Jaylen pauses, reading the list of names, none of them his or anyone who looks like him. The hallway feels longer than usual, every echo a reminder of who gets remembered and who gets quietly forgotten. He passes a group of girls huddled around a phone. One glances up, offers a quick, sympathetic smile, then returns to her friends. Jaylen's steps are steady, but his jaw is tight. He walks on, carrying the invisible history of all those who walked these halls and never saw themselves on the walls. Jaylen slips into the library, weaving through shelves heavy with old textbooks and untouched encyclopedias. Ariel waits at their usual table, her notebook open but untouched, pencil tapping a restless beat. She looks up as Jaylen sits, searching his face for hope. He shakes his head, setting his backpack down with a muted thud. He didn't even read it, Jaylen says, voice low, frustration leaking through. Ariel's eyes narrow, her jaw set. You brought him a plan and he couldn't bother? Jaylen shrugs, staring at the rows of books. Said there's no room, told me to focus on grades. Ariel leans in, her voice barely above a whisper. We can do this ourselves. We don't need his permission. Jaylen's lips twitch, a hint of a smile breaking through the disappointment. You think anyone would show up? Ariel's answer is quick, fierce. Even if it's just us, it matters. The library is quiet except for the distant hum of the air conditioning and the soft shuffle of a librarian shelving books. Jaylen pulls out a battered folder, spreading out sketches and notes between them. Ariel's eyes light up as she studies the plans, her determination matching his. Let's start with what we have, she says, gathering the scattered pages. Jaylen nods, rolling up his sleeves. They begin sorting through old parts and wires, their hands moving quickly, energy building between them. A student at the next table glances over, curiosity flickering in his eyes before he returns to his homework. The librarian pauses nearby, watching for a moment before quietly sliding a box of unused supplies onto their table and walking away. Ariel grins, pushing the box toward Jaylen. See? We're not alone. Jaylen meets her gaze, resolving, settling in his chest. They work side by side, a quiet rebellion taking root in the stacks. Dr. Stenner strolls through the main hallway, his stride unhurried, clipboard in hand, scanning the day's schedule. He stops to chat with a favored student, clapping him on the shoulder and sharing a joke that draws a round of easy laughter. His eyes sweep the corridor, lingering on the trophy case, then flicking past Jaylen and Ariel as if they're part of the furniture. He checks his watch, nods to a teacher with a practiced smile, and continues his rounds, the weight of authority settling comfortably across his shoulders. A secretary approaches with a question about next week's assembly. He answers without, looking up from his notes, his tone brisk but polite. The bell rings, and a group of students rushes by, their energy filling the hallway. Dr. Stenner steps aside, offering a brief nod to the basketball captain who grins and waves. As he passes, the library. He glances through the glass, catching a glimpse of Jaylen and Ariel hunched over their project. His lips curl in a faint, dismissive smile before he moves on, attention already shifting to the next item on his agenda. A teacher lingers at her classroom door, watching the principal with a mix of respect and resignation. She hesitates, then returns to her lesson plan, deciding not to speak up. Dr. Stenner's authority is never questioned, his routines unbroken. Every gesture, every interaction reinforces who belongs and who is simply tolerated. The school's rhythm continues, the principal's presence a constant reminder of which voices matter and which are quietly passed over. As he disappears around the corner, the camera lingers on his face, the confidence unshaken, unaware of the storm quietly gathering just beyond his view. Jaylen stops in front of the trophy case, the hallway almost empty, sunlight stretching across the floor in golden stripes. He stands quietly, folder pressed to his chest, eyes moving over the neat rows of trophies and plaques. Each engraved name shines under the glass, but none of them sound like his, none of them look like him. He leans closer, reading the years, the sports, the academic clubs, searching for something that feels familiar. His reflection stares back, layered over the faces in the old team photos, a ghost among the celebrated. He presses the folder against the glass, fingertips leaving faint prints, as if trying to push his idea into the history of the school. The glass is cool, grounding him, but also reminding him of the barrier between his dreams and the recognition displayed on the other side. A group of students passes behind him, their conversation fading as they turn the corner, not noticing Jaylen or the way he lingers. He glances at a robotics trophy tucked away in the back, its gold dulled by dust, the date nearly a decade old. He wonders who won it and why no one has tried since. A teacher walks by, arms full of papers, offering a polite nod before hurrying away. Jaylen straightens, places the folder upright in the narrow shadow at the base of the case, a symbolic gesture of claiming space. He steps back, watching his own image blur with the trophies, a silent promise forming in the set of his jaw. The light shifts, catching the folder's edge and sending a thin line of brightness across the floor. almost like a spotlight waiting for someone new. Jaylen allows himself a small, determined smile, a quiet warning to anyone watching that change is coming, whether they're ready or not. He turns, shoulders squared, and walks away, leaving the folder and its challenge in the shadows. The trophies glint in the fading light, but the real victory waits, patient and unclaimed, ready for a new story. Deidre McCall stands at the sink in the school cafeteria, steam rising as she scrubs trays, her hands red from hot water and long hours. The clock on the wall ticks past midnight. She glances at her phone, a faded photo of Jaylen taped to the back, and sighs, exhaustion etched in every line of her face. She clocks out, changes into her second uniform, and heads to the late shift at the local grocery store. The fluorescent lights flicker overhead as she stocks shelves, her movements slow but steady. Each box she lifts is a silent promise to her son. Keep going, keep building. In her mind, she replays Jaylen as a little boy, sitting on the living room floor, piecing together a broken toy car with a screwdriver and unmatched wheels. She remembers the pride in his eyes when the car finally rolled forward, the determination that's never left him. At sunrise, Deidre returns home. Shoes in hand to avoid waking Jaylen, she peeks into his room, watching him sleep. His notebook open beside him, sketches of robots and circuit boards scattered across the bed. She smiles softly, brushing a hand over his hair, whispering, "Don't let them tell you no." She sits at the kitchen table, counting out bills and coins, making sure there's enough for rent and groceries, her own dreams quietly folded away. The apartment is filled with the quiet hum of hope and sacrifice. As Jaylen wakes, he finds a note on the fridge in his mother's careful handwriting. "Keep reaching. I see you." He tucks the note into his backpack, carrying it with him, as a shield against the world's doubts. Deidre watches from the window as he leaves for school, her pride and worry mingling in her tired eyes, her love the foundation for every step he takes. Marcus McCall sits at the kitchen table, a faded circuit board in front of him, his fingers tracing the lines as if searching for a secret code. Years earlier, at 14, he'd stayed after school, curiosity burning in his eyes as he took apart a classroom computer just to see how it worked. The teacher's voice had cut through his concentration, sharp and startled. "What do you think you're doing?" Marcus tried to explain, but the words tangled. The principal was called. There was no discussion, just a quick decision. "You're suspended for tampering with school property." He'd watched his mother's face fall as she picked him up, disappointment and worry mixing in her tired eyes. Now Marcus works nights at a warehouse, stacking boxes, the hum of the conveyor belt a dull echo of the dreams he once had. He glances at Jaylen, who sits across from him, quietly sketching a new robot design. "Do you ever feel like you're just stuck?" Marcus asks, voice low, not looking up. Jaylen hesitates, then nods. "I do. Sometimes." Marcus sighs, pushing the circuit board aside. "Don't let them shut you down, Jay. They'll try. They always do." Jaylen studies his brother, seeing both the spark that remains and the weight of doors slammed shut. Their mother moves through the apartment, humming softly as she prepares dinner, her presence a steady anchor. Marcus stands, placing a hand on Jaylen's shoulder. "You're different. You keep going." Jaylen nods, determination settling in his chest. The memory of Marcus's suspension lingers, a warning and a lesson. Jaylen knows the system will find ways to close doors, but he's learned from his brother's resilience. He picks up his pencil, drawing with renewed purpose, each line a quiet act of defiance, each idea a step toward a future neither of them has seen. The school board meeting room is packed, the air thick with the rustle of papers and the low murmur of parents. At the podium, a black father stands, hands steady but voice trembling with urgency. "Our children deserve to see themselves in the curriculum. We need more representation, more support, more opportunity." His words hang in the air, but the board members exchange glances, their faces carefully neutral. Dr. Stenner sits at the end of the table, nodding politely, pen tapping against a notepad, eyes never quite meeting the father's. A white board member offers a tight smile. "We appreciate your input. We're always striving for improvement." The father's shoulders drop slightly, the hope in his eyes flickering. Other parents whisper among themselves, some nodding in agreement, others shifting uncomfortably in their seats. The superintendent clears her throat, moving on to the next agenda item without addressing the plea. As the father returns to his seat, his daughter squeezes his hand, her eyes wide and uncertain. The camera catches Dr. Stenner jotting a note, but the page is blank. The meeting continues, the father's words fading into the background noise of policy updates and budget reports. Later, as the crowd disperses, a teacher approaches the father quietly. "Thank you for speaking up. It matters, even if they pretend it doesn't." The father nods, offering a weary smile. Outside, the night is cool, the school building looming. Behind them, lights still burning in the administrative offices. The plea for change lingers, unaddressed, echoing through the halls and into the classrooms, a cycle of polite dismissal and empty promises. Years later, Jaylen watches a recording of that meeting, recognizing the same faces, the same careful indifference, the same cycle repeating. The lesson is clear. Words alone won't open doors, but they can plant seeds for those willing to keep pushing. Mr. Leroy Finch moves quietly through the empty halls, pushing his cart past the trophy case and pausing to wipe away the fingerprints left by curious hands. He's worked here for decades, his presence steady but rarely acknowledged. Tonight, his movements are slower, each swipe of the cloth more deliberate, as if he's memorizing the space he's kept clean for so long. He glances at a faded photo taped inside his locker, a little girl with bright eyes and braids, his granddaughter smiling on her first day of kindergarten. He closes the locker gently, the sound muffled in the stillness. In the main office, he leaves a set of keys on the counter, his resignation letter tucked underneath. No one is there to see him go. The letter is short, polite, and unsigned. He walks the halls one last time, stopping at the library, where Jaylen and Ariel work late, their heads bent over a pile of wires and circuit boards. Mr. Finch lingers, offering a small nod of encouragement before moving on. He passes the staff, lounge where laughter echoes behind closed doors, and the principal's office, its door firmly shut. As he steps outside, the night air is cool, the parking lot nearly empty. He looks back at the building, the windows glowing softly, and wonders if anyone will notice he's gone. The school will hire someone new, but they won't know the stories. Behind each scuff mark are the names of the students who came in early for breakfast. Jaylen finds the empty locker the next day, the photo still taped inside. He stands there for a moment thinking about all the people who keep things running but never make it into the yearbook. The system erases its witnesses, but the memory of their quiet work lingers in every polished floor and silent hallway. Jaylen walks down the main hallway, backpack slung over one shoulder, the hum of voices from clustered students bouncing off the lockers. Ariel catches up to him, holding out a copy of the school newsletter. "Look at this," she says, her voice tight. The front page features a photo of the Student Innovators Club. All white faces, all beaming at the camera. Jaylen scans. The list of names, none familiar, none from his classes. "They didn't even ask," he mutters, jaw set. Ariel's eyes are sharp, frustration simmering. "They never do. They just pick who they want." A group of students passes, glancing at Jaylen and Ariel, then looking away quickly, their conversation faltering for a moment before picking up again. Two teachers stand by the vending machines, one glancing over and then whispering something to the other, their eyes lingering a second too long. Jaylen feels the weight of being observed, not welcomed. He and Ariel move to the side, voices dropping. "We could start our own thing," Ariel whispers, hope flickering. Jaylen nods, but his shoulders are tense. Down the hall, a teacher's aide scribbles notes on a clipboard, her gaze darting between the students and the faculty lounge. She catches Jaylen's eye, then quickly looks away, her expression unreadable. The bell rings, and the hallway empties, in a rush, leaving Jaylen and Ariel standing in the echo of footsteps and fading laughter. Ariel folds the newsletter, tucking it into her bag with a sigh. "We have to make them see us," she says quietly. Jaylen nods, determination settling in his eyes. The hallway feels colder, the walls lined with reminders of who gets chosen and who gets left out. But in the quiet, a new resolve begins to take root. Jaylen and Ariel slip into the library after the final bell, the building nearly empty, fluorescent lights buzzing overhead. They settle at a corner table, spreading out scavenged wires, broken calculators and scraps of notebook paper. Ariel pulls out her laptop, screen cracked but still working, and opens a blank document. "We don't need their club," she says, voice low but fierce. Jaylen nods, rolling up his sleeves. "We'll build it anyway." Their hands move quickly, sorting through parts, sketching ideas, piecing together what others have thrown away. The hum of the HVAC fills the silence, a steady backdrop to their quiet determination. Every so often, a librarian passes by, glancing at their growing pile of materials but saying nothing. Ariel's pencil taps a steady rhythm on the table, matching the beat of Jaylen's heart. "If we get this to work, maybe others will join," she whispers, hope flickering in her eyes. Jaylen smiles, the first real one in days. "They will. They just need to see if it's possible." In the distance, a janitor sweeps the floor, pausing to watch them for a moment before moving on. His expression unreadable but not unfriendly. Ariel connects two wires, sparks flying briefly, and they both laugh, startled but exhilarated. "We're going to need more batteries," Jaylen says, jotting down a list. Ariel nods, determination settling in her posture. "I'll ask my uncle. He's got a drawer full of old tech." The library grows quieter as the sun sets, casting long shadows across their workspace. Jaylen looks around, feeling the weight of what they're starting. "This is ours," he says quietly. Ariel reaches over, fist bumping him. "Ours!" The pact is made, not with signatures, but with shared effort and belief. In the stacks, their rebellion begins. Miss Kessler walks quietly down the dim hallway, her steps soft on the worn linoleum, a small box clutched tightly in her hands. The box is battered, edges taped and worn, filled with old circuit boards and tangled wires she's saved from years of classroom cleanouts. Her hands tremble, a mix of nerves and hope, as she pauses outside the library, peering through the glass at Jaylen and Ariel, their heads bent over scattered parts and scribbled notes. She hesitates, then gently sets the box on their table, a yellow sticky note fluttering to the floor. "For your project." Jaylen looks up, eyes wide with surprise. Ariel picks up the box, fingers tracing the faded label. "Miss Kessler left this for us," she whispers, her voice thick with gratitude. Jaylen nods, a flicker of hope sparking in his chest. For a moment, the weight of years of being passed over and dismissed seems to lift. Ms. Kessler retreats down the hall, her shoulders squared but her face lined with memories of quiet battles. Late nights grading, speaking up in forgotten meetings, fighting for students who never made it into the school newsletter. She passes a group of teachers, their eyes meeting hers, some offering brief nods of respect, others indifferent. A janitor nearby pauses, watching her with a knowing look, a silent acknowledgement of her small act of rebellion. Jaylen opens the box carefully, pulling out a circuit board, its surface scratched but intact. He turns to Ariel, voice steady. "This means someone believes in us." Ariel smiles, eyes shining. "We're not invisible. Not anymore." The library hums softly around them, the glow of the computer screen casting long shadows across the table. Outside, the school moves on, unaware of the quiet revolution taking root in its heart, sparked by a teacher's simple, powerful gesture. Jaylen sits hunched at his desk, the glow of his laptop screen painting shadows across the walls. It's late, the rest of the apartment quiet, except for the faint sound of his mother moving in the kitchen. He types out another email to Dr. Stenner, attaching photos of their prototype, a list of volunteer mentors, and a detailed plan for the STEM club. He rereads his words, checking for mistakes, making sure the tone is respectful but clear. With a deep breath, he clicks send, watching the message disappear into the digital void. He refreshes his inbox, hoping to flicker with every new notification, but nothing comes. The minutes stretch into an hour. Jaylen scrolls through his sent folder, counting 6 unanswered messages, each one more detailed and hopeful than the last. He sees the principal's name in other threads, quick responses to requests from other students, congratulations for sports victories, reminders about deadlines. For him, only empty space. Frustration builds as he drafts a new subject line. STEM club proposal. Follow up. He hesitates, wondering if he's being too persistent, then sends it anyway. His phone buzzes with a message from Ariel. Anything? Jaylen types back. Still nothing. I don't think he's even reading them. Ariel replies, Don't. Let him stop you. We'll make it work. Jaylen closes his laptop with a soft thud, the sound echoing in the stillness. He sits in the dark for a moment, staring at the ceiling, then pulls out his notebook and begins sketching new ideas. Each ignored email becomes another reason to keep pushing, another reminder that the system is designed to wear him down. The Yiwam. Silence from the office upstairs is not just absence. It's a barrier, a message that his voice doesn't matter. But Jaylen refuses to accept that. He writes a new plan, determination hardening in his chest. The world outside is asleep, but Jaylen is wide awake, fueled by every unanswered message, every quiet dismissal, every door that hasn't opened yet. Jaylen stands by the school bulletin board, backpack slung over one shoulder, as students crowd around to read the latest newsletter. The headline reads, Crestview's Brightest. Above a glossy photo of the Student Innovators Club, every face in the picture is white, each name underneath familiar from the same group seen in the trophy case. Jaylen scans the list twice, searching for any sign of his own name, or Ariel's, or anyone who looks like them. There's nothing. Ariel joins him, unfolding a copy of the newsletter and shaking her head. Not even a mention, she says quietly, voice tight with frustration. Jaylen's jaw clenches. We sent them everything. The designs, the progress, the videos. A group of students nearby glance at the page, then at Jaylen and Ariel, before turning away, their expressions unreadable. One teacher walks past, offering a quick, forced smile, but doesn't stop. The principal stands at the end of the hallway, pinning another copy of the newsletter to the board, his movements brisk and practiced, never once looking in Jaylen's direction. Ariel folds the paper, shoving it into her bag. They want to pretend we're not here, she mutters. Jaylen nods, his grip tightening on his backpack strap. We'll make it impossible to ignore us. The hallway feels colder, the laughter from the other students distant and hollow. Jaylen watches as the principal straightens the newsletter, smoothing the edges with the palm of his hand, then turns to chat with a group of teachers, his voice light and easy. Ariel glances at Jaylen, her eyes determined. We keep going, she says. Jaylen nods, resolving settling in his chest. The omission isn't just an oversight, it's a message. But Jaylen and Ariel refuse to disappear. They walk away together, ready to prove that innovation doesn't need permission or a headline to matter. Ariel props her phone against a stack of textbooks in the library, framing their robot prototype as it navigates a maze of pencils and erasers. Jaylen adjusts a wire, glancing at the camera. Ready? Ariel nods, hitting record. The robot whirs to life, weaving through obstacles, drawing a quiet cheer from the two of them. Ariel uploads the 15-second clip to TikTok with the caption, built by students who were told there's no room for us. Within hours, the video explodes. Comments pour in, this is genius. Why isn't the school supporting you? Where's your club? Jaylen scrolls through the notifications. Each like and shares a small jolt of validation. Ariel grins, watching the view count climb. They can't ignore this, she whispers. Jaylen nods, his heart pounding. In the hallway, a group of students huddle over a phone, watching the video and glancing toward the library. A teacher pauses by the door, curiosity flickering across her face before she moves on. Jaylen's phone buzzes with a message from a local reporter. "Saw your project. Can we talk?" Ariel's eyes widened. "People are noticing." Jaylen smiles, hoping to break through the frustration. Still, the principal walks past their table later that day, eyes fixed on his phone, never acknowledging the buzz around their success. Ariel leans in, voice low. "Let's post the next update tonight." Jaylen agrees, determination sharpening in his gaze. The video keeps looping, the question in the comments growing louder. Why no support? Jaylen realizes their work is finally being seen, not by the people in charge, but by everyone else. The energy in the library shifts, students glancing over, some nodding in quiet approval. Jaylen and Ariel exchange a look. This is just the beginning. Jaylen wakes to the sound of the mail slot snapping shut, the early morning light barely filtering through the blinds. He shuffles to the door, rubbing sleep from his eyes, and finds a plain white envelope lying on the welcome mat. There's no name, just his address written in neat, careful handwriting. He picks it up, feeling the unexpected weight inside, and carries it to his desk, where blueprints and robot parts are scattered across the surface. Sitting down, he tears the envelope open, heart beating faster as 5 crisp $100 bills slide out, along with a folded note. He reads it twice. "From alumni who see you, keep building." The words hit harder than he expects. For a moment, he just stares at the money, the realization sinking in that someone out there believes in him, someone who knows what it's like to be overlooked and still wants him to succeed. He thinks of all the emails he sent, the proposals, ignored, the club meetings he was never invited to, and feels a surge of hope and gratitude. He calls Ariel, voice trembling with excitement. "We got a donation, $500. No name, just a note. They believe in us." Ariel laughs, relief and joy mixing in her voice. "That's what we needed, Jay. Let's get the motor and those sensors." Jaylen heads to the electronics store after school, the bills folded carefully in his pocket, and finally buys the motor he's been researching for weeks. Back in the library, he and Ariel work late, into the evening, fitting the new parts, soldering wires, testing circuits. The robot comes to life, moving smoother and faster than ever before. Jaylen records a video, hands steady, voice full of pride as he explains what they've built. He uploads it to TikTok, tagging it with "Checks built by belief." The views climb, and supportive comments pour in. That night, Jaylen places the anonymous note above his desk, a reminder that even in a system designed to overlook him, there are people rooting for his success. The spark of generosity is more than money. It's the proof that he's not invisible and that his work matters. Jaylen sits at his desk late at night, the glow of his phone screen illuminating the scattered blueprints and spare wires that cover every inch of the tabletop. He's still riding the high from the anonymous donation, the note taped to the wall above his workspace. As he's sketching a new design, his phone buzzes with a notification. He almost ignores it, thinking it's just another comment on their viral TikTok video, but the subject line catches his eye. "Congratulations, National STEM Challenge invitation." Jaylen's breath catches. He opens the email, reading and rereading the words, barely believing what he sees. The invitation is official, signed by the competition director, and it lists their project by name. He grabs his phone, dialing Ariel, with shaking hands. She answers on the second ring, her voice groggy but curious. "Ariel, wake up. We got in. The National STEM Challenge. They want us to compete. They saw our video." There's a pause, then a squeal of excitement from the other end. "Jaylen, this is huge. We did it. We actually did it." Jaylen laughs, the sound bubbling up from deep in his chest, relief and pride mixing together. He reads the email out loud, the words sounding more real with every syllable. Ariel is already making a list of what they'll need for the next stage, more batteries, better sensors, maybe a new chassis if they can find the parts. "We have to show them what we can do," she says, her voice steady now, determination clear. Jaylen nods, even though she can't see him. "Yeah, we're going to show everyone." He hangs up and sits back, staring at the invitation, the reality of their achievement settling in. For a moment, he thinks of all the times he was told no, all the doors that stayed closed, and he lets himself feel the victory. He takes a photo of the invitation, sends it to his mom and Marcus, and then carefully tucks it into his notebook. The challenge is no longer just about proving they belong. It's about taking their place on a stage that was never meant for them and making it their own. Jaylen stands behind the heavy curtain, the muffled hum of the crowd seeping through the thick fabric. His hands tremble slightly, fingers curling into fists as he breathes in the stale backstage air. The weight of every dismissal, every closed door, presses down on him, but his eyes hold a quiet fire. He hears the announcer's voice, distant but clear, calling the next competitor to the stage. Jaylen's heart races, but his voice remains steady in his mind. This is his moment. The lights beyond the curtain cast long shadows, stretching across the floor like silent witnesses to his journey. He adjusts the strap of his backpack, feeling the worn edges of his project folder beneath the fabric. Memories flicker. Emails, unanswered. The principal's dismissive glance. The empty trophy case. But here, in this charged stillness, those moments transform into fuel. A stagehand passes by, offering a brief nod, a small gesture of encouragement in a sea of strangers. Jaylen's lips press into a thin line, a silent thank you. He closes his eyes for a moment, centering himself, the quiet strength of those who believed in him echoing in his chest. The crowd's murmur swells, a tide of anticipation that threatens to overwhelm. Jaylen steps forward as the announcer calls his name, the spotlight finding him like a beacon. His voice, when it comes, is calm but resolute. "I built this with what I had." Sometimes that's enough. Back in the audience, Dr. Stenner sits rigid, arms crossed, jaw clenched. The weight of his own oversight settles heavily on his shoulders. Around him, the room holds its breath, the old order trembling. As a new story unfolds, Jaylen's shadow stretches long across the stage, a quiet testament to resilience and the power of unseen strength. Dr. Stenner sits in the front row of the auditorium, posture rigid, arms folded tightly across his chest. His jaw is set, lips pressed into a straight line as he scans the program, eyes darting over Jaylen's name but never lingering. Around him, parents and teachers murmur with anticipation, their faces open and expectant. But Stenner's expression is unreadable, a mask of authority that refuses to crack. He shifts in his seat as the MC announces the next presentation, his gaze flicking briefly to the stage, then away. Every movement is calculated, a performance of control. The principal's shoes tap a slow, steady rhythm against the polished floor, the only outward sign of unease. A teacher seated nearby glances at him, offering a small, uncertain smile, but he doesn't return it. Instead, he leans back, crossing his ankles, walling himself off from the energy in the room. As Jaylen steps into the spotlight, Stenner's grip tightens on the program, knuckles paling. He watches the crowd lean forward, drawn in by Jaylen's calm confidence, but refuses to join them. His authority, once unquestioned, feels suddenly fragile, threatened by the shift in attention. A parent in the row behind whispers, "That's the student who built the robot?" And Stenner's shoulders stiffen. He forces his gaze to the stage, but his eyes are cold, calculating, unwilling to acknowledge the change unfolding before him. The applause that follows Jaylen's introduction is loud, genuine, and for the first time, Stenner feels the distance between himself and the community he's supposed to lead. The walls he's built around his position seem taller, more isolating as the spotlight moves past him and finds someone new. He sits motionless, arms crossed, watching as the story he tried to contain grows beyond his reach. The auditorium lights dim slightly as Jaylen stands at the podium, the weight of the moment pressing down. The crowd is silent, anticipation thick in the air. Dr. Priya Desai, a judge with a reputation for fairness, leans forward, her voice cutting through the quiet. "How did you build this with so little?" she asks, eyes searching Jaylen's face for the story behind the machine. Jaylen's gaze is steady, his hands resting lightly on the podium. "We used what we had," he replies, voice calm but firm. "Sometimes that's enough." The room absorbs the words, the simplicity of the statement carrying a quiet power. Around him, the audience shifts, the old assumptions beginning to crack. Dr. Stenner sits in the front row, his jaw tightening, fingers tapping nervously against his program. The weight of his earlier dismissals settles heavily on his shoulders. Jaylen continues, "This project isn't just about technology. It's about persistence, about making space where none was given." A murmur of approval ripples through the crowd. A fellow judge nods, impressed by the restraint and dignity in Jaylen's delivery. The camera lingers on Jaylen's face, the quiet confidence shining through the tension. His words don't shout, but they resonate louder than any raised voice. Backstage, Ariel watches, her hands clenched in hopeful anticipation. The moment is a turning point, a subtle but seismic shift in the room's energy. Dr. Desai's question hangs in the air, a challenge and an acknowledgement. Jaylen's answer is a quiet declaration of strength, a refusal to be defined by lack. The spotlight narrows, focusing on the machine humming softly, a symbol of ingenuity born from adversity. Jaylen's voice remains steady, each word measured, carrying the weight of years spent fighting to be seen. The judges exchange glances, the room holding its breath. Outside, the buzz of the crowd grows, whispers of admiration and surprise weaving through the air. Jaylen's hands tighten briefly on the podium, a subtle sign of the pressure he carries. The machine's soft hum fills the stillness, a testament to the countless hours of work and quiet determination. Dr. Desai nods slowly, her expression softening, acknowledging the resilience behind the project. The audience's energy shifts, the old barriers beginning to crumble. Jaylen's story is no longer just his own. It becomes a symbol of change, a beacon for those who have been overlooked. The camera pans to the faces in the crowd, some nodding. In respect, others caught off guard by the quiet power of the moment. Jaylen's eyes scan the room, meeting the gaze of a young student in the front row, who smiles back with newfound hope. The scene fades with the soft glow of the spotlight, the promise of a new chapter hanging in the air. Miss Lindavos stands just off stage, clipboard pressed to her chest, watching as Jaylen's words ripple through the auditorium. She catches the principal's rigid posture in the front row, the way his fingers drum a restless beat against his knee. The applause for Jaylen is genuine, swelling and warm, and Linda feels a pang of regret for every time she stayed silent in meetings, every time she let a decision slide without question. She steps closer to Dr. Stenner, lowering her voice, so only he can hear. "Maybe you should have believed," she murmurs, her tone gentle but edged with disappointment. The principal's jaw tightens, but he doesn't respond, eyes fixed on the stage as if willing himself to remain in control. Linda's words linger between them, a quiet indictment, a reminder of all the moments when doing nothing was easier than doing what was right. She glances at the students in the audience, their faces open and hopeful, and wonders how many times she's seen that hope fade. A teacher nearby catches her eye, offering a small, supportive nod, as if to say it's not too late to change. Linda straightens, resolving settling in her shoulders. She knows this moment is bigger than one competition or one student. It's about the culture they've allowed to grow, the voices they've let go unheard. The applause fades, replaced by a hush as the next presenter is called. Linda steps back, her words still hanging in the air, a quiet challenge to the old order. Dr. Stenner shifts in his seat, the weight of her remark settling over him. The atmosphere backstage is charged, the sense of possibility and reckoning palpable. Linda watches Jaylen, pride and regret mingling in her chest, and promises herself things will be different from now on. The MC steps up to the microphone, voice echoing through the auditorium as the audience leans forward in anticipation. Our next finalist, Jaylen McCall and Ariel Tran, Crestview High. For a heartbeat, the room is silent, shock flickering across familiar faces. Then the applause erupts, loud and genuine, students and teachers rising to their feet. Jaylen glances at Ariel, disbelief and pride mingling in his eyes. Ariel squeezes his hand, her smile trembling with relief. In the front row, Dr. Stenner's face drains of color, his grip on the program tightening until the paper crumples. He shifts in his seat, trying to mask the unease that ripples through his carefully constructed composure. Parents whisper to each other, some nodding in approval, others exchanging uncertain glances. A teacher in the back wipes away a tear, remembering every time she watched talented students pass over. The spotlight sweeps across the stage, illuminating Jaylen and Ariel as they step forward, their project held high. The judges nod, impressed, their earlier skepticism replaced by admiration. The principal's authority, once unchallenged, now feels exposed, the cracks in the system visible for all to see. Ms. Voss stands at the edge of the stage, her arms crossed, eyes shining with vindication. The MC continues, listing the achievements and innovation behind the project, each word a quiet rebuke to those who doubted. Jaylen's classmates cheer, some recording the moment on their phones, capturing history as it unfolds. The applause lingers, washing over Jaylen and Ariel, a wave of recognition long overdue. Dr. Stenner sits rigid, sweat beading at his temple, unable to look away from the stage. The old order is crumbling, the truth laid bare under the harsh lights. Jaylen and Ariel stand together, their victory not just personal, but a statement, a system exposed, a new chapter beginning in front of everyone. Jaylen stands at the center of the stage, his project displayed beside him, the auditorium hushed and expectant. He takes a steady breath, glancing at Ariel in the wings, her encouraging nod giving him strength. He faces the audience, voice calm and clear. We built this from what others left behind. Old parts, donated tools, late nights in the library. People told us there wasn't room, that we should focus elsewhere. But we saw possibilities where others saw limits. He pauses, letting the words settle. The judges lean in, their interest genuine, the crowd silent, hanging on every syllable. This isn't just a robot. It's proof that innovation doesn't depend on privilege or permission. It's about persistence, about refusing to let someone else define your worth. Jaylen's gaze sweeps the room, finding Dr. Stenner in the front row, his face unreadable, but his posture tense. I was told this wasn't needed, but I knew it was. Not just for me, but for everyone who's ever been told to wait their turn or to stay quiet. Ariel steps forward, her voice steady. We worked for this. We earned it. And we're not the only ones who can. The audience shifts, a few nodding, others wiping away tears. Jaylen continues, we hope this project opens doors for the next group of students, kids who are ready now, not just when someone in charge decides it's their time. He finishes, hands relaxed at his sides, not needing to raise his voice or plead for approval. The applause begins slowly, then builds, filling the auditorium with a sense of release and recognition. Jaylen and Ariel stand together, their dignity unshaken, their truth delivered with restraint. The moment is theirs, not because they demanded it, but because they earned it, quietly and completely. The applause fades, replaced by a charged stillness as the head judge, Dr. Priya Desai, rises from the panel. She looks at Jaylen and Ariel, her expression thoughtful, the weight of the moment clear in her measured steps to the microphone. She addresses the audience first, her voice steady but resonant. We ask students to innovate, to push boundaries, but rarely do we ask ourselves what boundaries we've created. She turns to Jaylen, eyes kind but direct. You built this system. Out of scraps, out of time others said was wasted, out of belief when the doors were closed. Now watch it lift you." The words settle over the crowd, a mix of admiration and challenge. Jaylen meets her gaze, gratitude and pride flickering across his face. Ariel squeezes his hand, her eyes shining. Dr. Desai continues, "This project is more than engineering. It's a lesson in persistence, a blueprint for what happens when we stop waiting for permission and start building anyway." The other judges nod, one jotting notes, another leaning forward, clearly moved. In the front row, Dr. Stenner's composure cracks for a moment, his jaw tightening as he realizes the shift in the room. The audience murmurs, the old hierarchy, unsettled. A teacher in the back wipes away a tear, whispering to a colleague, "They did it." Dr. Desai's verdict is clear, her voice unwavering. "You set a new standard tonight. This is what Crestview can be, if we let it." The applause returns, louder, more sustained, a collective recognition of what's been achieved. Jaylen stands a little taller, Ariel's grip firm in his. The system that once shut them out now stands as witness to their success. The moment is electric, the power dynamic reversed, the future rewritten in real time. The auditorium buzzes with applause, but Dr. Stenner sits frozen in his front row seat, face pale and drawn. His hands tremble as he wipes a bead of sweat from his brow, the weight of the moment pressing down like a physical force. The confident mask he wore for years begins to crack, revealing the man beneath, the one who dismissed warnings, overlooked potential, and now faces the consequences in front of everyone. His eyes dart around the room, searching for an escape, but the spotlight is unforgiving. The murmurs of the crowd feel like a distant storm, growing louder with each passing second. He shifts in his seat, the chair creaking under the sudden movement, a subtle sign of his unraveling composure. A teacher nearby watches with a mix of sympathy and quiet satisfaction, her fingers nervously tapping a pen against her notebook. She exchanges a glance with a colleague, both acknowledging the shift in power without a word. Dr. Stenner's breath quickens, chest rising and falling unevenly. He clenches his fists, nails digging into his palms, a silent battle raging within. The years of authority and control slip through his fingers like sand. His gaze falls to the program in his lap, the pages blurred as his vision falters. The name Jaylen McCall stands out starkly, a reminder of the student he underestimated. The applause swells again, a wave of recognition that crashes over, him leaving him exposed and diminished. He forces a tight smile, but it doesn't reach his eyes. The room feels colder, the distance between him and the audience widening. The old order he upheld is crumbling, and he is left to watch it fall. As the next presenter is called, Dr. Stenner slowly rises, his movements stiff and uncertain. He exits the auditorium, the door closing softly behind him, a quiet end to a chapter marked by denial and downfall. The camera lingers on the empty seat, the echo of his departure, a haunting reminder of change and the cost of ignoring truth. The auditorium has emptied, the last echoes of applause fading into a heavy quiet. Jaylen stands near the exit, trophy in hand, the weight of the moment settling in his chest. Dr. Stenner approaches slowly, his steps hesitant, posture no longer, rigid with authority. He stops a few feet away, voice low and uncertain. I didn't know it was you." Jaylen looks up, eyes steady, voice calm but firm. "You never asked." A pause stretches between them, thick with unspoken truths and years of dismissal. Dr. Stenner's shoulders slump, the facade of control slipping away. "I thought I had control. I thought I was doing what was best." Jaylen shakes his head, not angry, just tired. Control isn't the same as justice, and best isn't the same as right. The principal's gaze drops, unable to see Jaylen's steady state. Around them, the empty chairs and scattered programs echo the shift in power, the old order giving way to something new. Jaylen's voice is quiet but unwavering. "This isn't just about a competition. It's about every time someone like me was overlooked, every time a voice was silenced. Dr. Stenner nods slowly, the weight of realization settling in, his hands fidgeting with the edge of his jacket. I see that now. Jaylen's reply is simple, final. Then start listening. The two stand in silence, the air charged with a new understanding. Jaylen's calm dignity contrasts with the principal's quiet collapse, the power dynamic reversed without a single raised voice. The scene lingers as Jaylen turns, walking away with the trophy held high, leaving Dr. Stenner to face the consequences of his neglect. The empty auditorium, once a stage for authority, now bears witness to a new kind of leadership, one built on truth, resilience, and the courage to speak quietly but be heard. Jaylen stands center stage, the trophy gleaming in his hands as the final applause fades into a deep, meaningful hush. The school banner hangs behind him, its old slogan barely visible beneath a new one hastily unfurled. Crestview High, home of innovators. He looks out over the auditorium, faces turned toward him not with skepticism, but with admiration and respect. Ariel joins him, her smile wide, eyes shining with pride. Teachers gather at the edge of the stage, some clapping, others wiping away tears, each recognizing the significance of this moment. The crowd's energy lingers, a quiet but powerful acknowledgement that something fundamental has changed. Jaylen lifts the trophy a little higher, not in triumph over others, but as a symbol for every student who was told to wait, to be quiet, to accept less. Ariel places a hand on his shoulder, grounding him in the reality of their achievement. In the front row, a younger student stares up at the stage, hope and possibility reflected in his eyes. Jaylen meets his gaze, offering a nod that says, "You're next." The principal's seat is empty now, a silent reminder of the old order's absence, but no one seems to miss it. The school photographer snaps a picture capturing the moment that will soon hang in the hallway, a new legacy for others to see. Jaylen's mother stands near the back, hands clasped, tears streaming down her face as she whispers, "That's my son." The sense of community is palpable, the barriers that once divided now replaced by a shared sense of pride. As the lights dim and the audience begins to file out, Jaylen and Ariel remain on stage for a moment longer, soaking in the reality that their quiet persistence has rewritten the story of Crestview. The banner above them declares a new era, and the trophy in Jaylen's hands is more than a prize. It's a promise that the future belongs to those who refuse to be overlooked. Dr. Stenner sits alone at a corner table in the neighborhood cafe the morning after the competition. The place is busy, sunlight pouring through the windows, the hum of conversation and clatter of mugs filling the air. He scrolls through his phone, reading headline after headline about Jaylen's win, each article a reminder of the moment he lost control. The barista, usually quick with a greeting, sets his coffee down without a word, eyes flicking away before he can offer a forced smile. Around him, parents chat about the school's new legacy, their voices carrying just loud enough for him to hear. "Did you see the news? Crestview finally has a winner who looks like all of us." Another parent adds, "About time they started listening to the right kids." Stenner stirs his coffee, hands unsteady, the bitterness on his tongue matching the weight in his chest. He glances up, hoping for a nod or a wave from someone he knows, but every face is turned away, conversation shifting when he's near. The cafe owner wipes down a nearby table, offering a polite but distant nod, moving on quickly. Stenner's phone buzzes with a message from the district office. "We'll be reviewing your leadership this month." He pockets the device, gaze fixed on the steam rising from his cup. For years this cafe was a place of comfort, a space where he was greeted with respect and recognition. Now, each small gesture, a delayed order, averted eyes, a conversation paused when he enters, reminds him of the new distance between himself and the community. The laughter and warmth that once included him now pass him by, leaving him isolated in the center of the room. He finishes his coffee in silence, stands, and leaves a tip on the table. As he steps out into the sunlight, the door swings shut. Behind him, the sound final, a quiet exile from the world he once commanded. The school hallway is alive with the morning rush, students weaving between lockers, voices echoing off the polished floors. Jaylen walks past the main display where the Hall of Honor stretches across the wall. Rows of framed photos, plaques, and certificates, each celebrating the school's history and its chosen few. He pauses, searching for the familiar face of the principal among the portraits, but Dr. Stenner's photograph is gone. The empty space where it once hung is obvious, the outline still visible in the dust, a silent erasure that speaks louder than any announcement. Parents on their way to a meeting stop and point, whispering to their children about the new STEM club sign now mounted beside the display. Jaylen overhears a mother say, "That's the student who won the national competition. See his name? That's what matters now." Her son nods, eyes wide with admiration, the old hierarchy already fading in his mind. A teacher pauses nearby, arms folded, eyes lingering on the bare spot where Stenner's picture used to be. She sighs, a mix of relief and regret, then turns to greet a group of students, her tone warmer than before. The new sign, bright and bold, reads, "STEM Club, founded by Jaylen McCall." Jaylen's heart beats faster, pride and disbelief mingling as he sees his own name in a place of honor. Ariel joins him, nudging his shoulder. "You did this," she whispers, her voice full of joy. Jaylen smiles, but his gaze drifts back to the empty frame, remembering all the times he walked these halls unseen. Now the wall tells a different story, a story of change, of voices finally heard, of legacies rewritten. The absence of the old principal's photo is not just a punishment, it's a signal to every student that the future belongs to those who refuse to be erased. After school, Jaylen sits at a battered table in the robotics lab, surrounded by a small group of younger students. The room is filled with the sound of laughter, the clatter of tools, and the low hum of possibility. He spreads out a collection of old circuit boards, salvaged gears, and mismatched wires, inviting the kids to dig in and experiment. "You don't need the newest parts to make something great," Jaylen says, guiding a sixth grader's hands as she fits a motor into place. Ariel stands nearby, showing another student how to solder safely, her patience unwavering. One boy, quiet and unsure, hesitates before reaching for a cracked sensor. Jaylen kneels beside him, voice gentle. "Try it. If it doesn't work the first time, we'll figure it out together." The boy nods, determination flickering in his eyes. The lab's shelves are lined with half-finished projects and broken gadgets, each one a lesson in trial and error, in persistence over perfection. A teacher peeks in, watching the energy in the room, her smile proud and a little wistful. "You're building more than robots in here," she says softly before stepping out. Jaylen glances at the note his mother left in his backpack. "Keep reaching. I see you," and tucks it into his pocket, a quiet reminder of why he keeps showing up. The students gather around as Ariel powers up their latest creation, a homemade robot that wobbles but manages to cross the finish line. Cheers erupt, hands thrown in the air, the victory sweeter because it was hard-won. Jaylen looks around, realizing this is what real legacy feels like, not a trophy, but a room full of kids who believe they belong. As the sun sets, casting warm light across the cluttered tables, Jaylen promises himself he'll keep making space for every student who wants to try, no matter where they start or what they have. At the district's small evening ceremony, Ms. Kessler sits quietly near the back, her hands folded in her lap, watching as other teachers accept their awards with practiced speeches and bright smiles. When her name is called for championing diversity in STEM, she rises slowly, smoothing her skirt, heart pounding with a mix of pride and disbelief. The applause is polite but genuine as she walks to the stage, the plaque heavy and cool in her hands. She glances at the inscription, her name etched beside words she's fought for her entire career. Standing at the podium, she hesitates, searching the crowd for familiar faces. Jaylen and Ariel sit together, grinning, their eyes shining with gratitude. Ms. Kessler clears her throat, voice steady but soft. "This award isn't just mine. It belongs to every student who stayed late, who asked questions, who refused to give up when things got hard. I only tried to give them the space to be seen, The audience listens, some nodding, others shifting in their seats, the message settling in. She remembers the late nights in the library, slipping boxes of parts, to Jaylen and Ariel, the quiet encouragement she offered when the system looked the other way. As she steps down, several teachers congratulate her, some with genuine warmth, others with a hint of envy. A district official shakes her hand, promising to look into more inclusive programs, but Ms. Kessler knows real change comes from persistence, not promises. Jaylen meets her in the hallway, offering a shy hug. "Thank you for believing in us," he says. She smiles, eyes misty. "You made it easy." The plaque feels lighter now, not just a symbol of recognition, but a reminder that her quiet efforts mattered. As she leaves the building, Miss Kessler feels hope for the future. Hope built on every small act of courage, every student who dared to dream. The school board's meeting room is filled with late afternoon sunlight, dust motes drifting through the air as board members settle into their seats. Papers shuffle, laptops click open, and a quiet tension settles over the table. At the center, a new policy draft sits, its language clear and direct. Equal funding for all clubs, outreach to underrepresented students, annual reviews for inclusivity. The superintendent clears her throat, addressing the room. This proposal comes after months of community feedback and hard lessons learned. Some board members nod, others exchange wary glances, the old guard reluctant to let go of familiar routines. A parent representative speaks up, her voice steady. "We can't keep pretending the system works for everyone. It's time to change what's been broken for too long." The principal, now seated at the far end, listens silently. His presence diminished, the authority he once wielded replaced by quiet observation. The vote is called. One by one, hands rise. Some confident, some hesitant, but each a step toward something new. The motion passes. The superintendent smiles, relieved, and resolves mingling in her expression. "We'll make this public at tomorrow's assembly. It's not just policy. It's a promise." In the hallway, word spreads quickly. Teachers gather in small groups, discussing what the changes will mean. Ariel hears the news first, texting, "Jaylen, it's happening. They're finally listening." Jaylen reads the message, hope swelling in his chest. For years, change felt impossible. Now it's written into the rules. The board meeting ends, members filing out, some energized, others subdued, all aware that the school's future has shifted. The old ways aren't gone overnight, but a new standard is set. As the sun dips lower, casting long shadows across the empty meeting room, the stack of signed papers on the table stands as quiet proof that progress, though slow, has finally begun to move. The robotics lab buzzes with new energy, a far cry from the quiet, half-empty room it once was. Jaylen stands by the door watching, as students of every background file in, their voices rising in excitement and curiosity. The tables are crowded now, every seat filled with eager hands and bright eyes. A group of freshmen huddle around Ariel, who demonstrates how to connect a sensor to a circuit board, her instructions clear and encouraging. Across the room, a shy student with a hijab carefully assembles her first robot, while a pair of twins debate the best way to program their design. Jaylen moves from table to table, offering tips, answering questions, and celebrating small victories. A motor that finally spins, a sensor that lights up, a code that runs without errors. The air is thick with laughter, the clatter of tools, and the hum of computers. A teacher stops by, smiling at the scene, pride evident in her eyes. "This is what it should have always been," she says quietly to Jaylen, who nods in agreement. The walls, once lined with old trophies and faded posters, now display new projects and photos of the diverse team at work. Jaylen catches sight of a student who once sat alone at lunch, now laughing with a group over a shared mistake. The barriers that once kept them apart dissolving in the shared pursuit of discovery. Ariel glances over, her smile wide, and Jaylen feels a wave of gratitude for how far they've come. The lab, once a symbol of exclusion, has become a place where everyone belongs, where every idea is welcome. As the session ends, students, linger, reluctant to leave, already making plans for their next meeting. Jaylen turns off the lights, the room still buzzing with possibility, knowing the doors will never be closed again. Jaylen sits alone on the front steps of the school as dusk settles, the trophy beside him catching the last orange rays of the sun. The building behind him is quiet, emptied of students and noise, but the echoes of laughter and discovery from the lab still linger in his mind. He pulls out his mother's handwritten note from his pocket. "Keep reaching, I see you," and traces the words with his thumb, feeling the weight of every struggle and every small victory. He thinks of the nights spent sending unanswered emails, the mornings scanning hallways for a place to belong, the afternoons building robots from discarded parts. All those moments felt like whispers, quiet, almost invisible, but persistent. Jaylen closes his eyes, letting the cool air fill his lungs, and realizes that real change isn't loud or sudden. It grows in the background, in the steady work, in the refusal to give up when no one is watching. He remembers Ms. Kessler's gentle encouragement, Ariel's unwavering partnership, and the new faces in the lab, all the people who believed when the system didn't. He whispers to himself, "Change doesn't roar. It whispers, then it grows." The words settle around him, a mantra for the journey ahead. As the streetlights flicker on, Jaylen stands, tucking the note back into his pocket and lifting the trophy. He walks home slowly, each step a promise, to keep pushing, to keep building, to keep making space for those who come after. The school behind him stands silent, but inside, the seeds of transformation have taken root. Jaylen knows the work isn't finished, but for the first time, he feels certain that the future will be shaped by voices like his, steady, patient, and impossible to ignore. On the first day of the new term, Jaylen stands outside Crestview High, the morning sun glinting off the freshly painted sign above the entrance. Home of Innovators. The school grounds buzz with energy as students pour in, some pausing to take selfies with the new banner, others exchanging excited greetings. Jaylen watches the crowd, spotting faces both familiar and new. Students who once lingered at the AE margins now walk confidently toward the doors, backpacks heavy with possibility. Ariel joins him, her smile bright, and together they greet the younger students who shyly introduce themselves as the new robotics team members. A reporter approaches, microphone in hand, and asks, "Jaylen, what would you say to someone who feels unheard?" Jaylen glances at the school, then at the students gathering around. He answers, voice steady, "Keep building, even if no one sees you. Yet." The reporter nods, capturing the moment as a group of students behind Jaylen break into spontaneous applause. Teachers stand at the entrance, waving students in, their faces open and welcoming, a far cry from the guarded expressions of the past. Jaylen's mother stands at the curb, watching with pride as her son is recognized not just for a trophy, but for changing the culture of the school. Ms. Kessler snaps a photo of the new robotics team, her eyes shining with hope for what's to come. As the bell rings, Jaylen and Ariel head inside, flanked by students eager to join their club, their laughter echoing down the hallway. The camera pans up to the school sign, the words "Home of Innovators" bold against the sky, a promise that Crestview's future will be shaped by those who dare to dream, speak up, and create. The story closes not with a roar, but with the steady, unstoppable hum of progress.